Hi everyone, thank you for tuning into another episode of Holding Court with the Empress West Hollywood. My name's Enoch Miller, your Empress of WeHo, and we're so excited to have you with us today. We want to give you a very special thank you to our amazing producers, GayLifeLA.com, as well as Kings Road Apartment Homes for the space you see here today. They are currently under amazing renovations, so we'll have lots more for that when that comes due. But they are destroying the hell out of this place, so we're going to be moving around to accommodate for that. So you'll see lots of different areas of this amazing little spot, and if you want to get more information, you can go to KingResortApartmentHomes.com to get all that. But I want to give a special thank you to our amazing guest who's with us today, Ms. Gloria Bigelow. Hi! Yay. Well, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for using a fan.
Oh, gay as fuck. And it's gagged. And of course, it's a fan I got from DragCon, so it's like an extra level gay.
I think anytime he does that, I'm gonna laugh.
And it's so funny because a lot of people are like, why do you need the big one? Because this is drag queen level.
Yeah.
So you have the
why
little...
Why wouldn't you have the big one?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like go big or go home. So, Gloria, we want to get to know just a little bit more about you. You're originally from the burbs of Pittsburgh.
I am.
And what was that like growing up for you compared to now living... Well, you've also lived in New York as well, but compared to living here in the
I kind of lived
West.
all over, but growing up, I grew up in a really kind of like upper middle class white suburb of Pittsburgh where we were like the only chocolate chips in the cookie dough. You know, just like that kind of situation.
I love cookie dough.
Yeah, that's true. I love chocolate chips. So that was like interesting. And then my family, when I was like 13 or 14, we moved to South Carolina. Had a big old culture shock, and that was that. A lot of those years I kind of blacked out. So, no, it was good. And then I went to college in Atlanta. So I've been all over the East Coast kind of thing. But yeah, so that was interesting being the black family there. But
yeah, and you've also you've done Baltimore, you've done Atlanta, you've done Florence. You kind of just bounced all over that whole coastline.
It sounds like I have an issue, but I really don't. I just moved a lot. I've lived in a lot of places.
And for you, what's kind of, because I mean you've been very East Coast heavy on a lot of that. What do you feel is the biggest difference from you coming from the East Coast to here in Los Angeles? I mean, it can be a little bit of a culture shock too.
Yeah.
When you're so used to things one way there to being completely the opposite here.
Yeah, I was prepared to come here and like hate LA. Okay. I was, oh my God, it's gonna be the worst move I've ever made, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm just gonna torture myself and move to the sunshine and mountains. And it ended up being, of course, wonderful. Wow. New York is wonderful in its own right. I mean, there's so many fabulous things, but everybody wears black, and that's because a piece of them is dying every single day.
Every day.
Every single day.
Oh my God. And it's so funny because everyone tries to compare the two, and you can't. New York is its own beast. LA is the same thing.
Absolutely.
And they're just so special in their own regards and make you want to kill yourself in equal ways as well.
Yeah.
And so what for you, because you originally wanted to be, you actually were. You were an actress and you were doing a lot of stuff in the acting world. What kind of really inspired you to go and pursue that line of a career?
A girl.
Oh.
Yeah. A girl told me I was cute and funny and told me that I should do stand-up. I was like, what? So I was at a party in Harlem, as you do, and a cute girl, we were talking, and I was making her laugh, you know, because that's like, you know, I think. And at the end of the night, she's like, have you ever done stand-up? And I was like, no, I'm like a classically trained actor thinks. I do Moliere. I was like, I'm like, you know,
very
I just finished my degree, you know what I mean? So I was like, I do Moliere.
You
know, she was like, well, I think you should do it. And I was like, well, I don't know how to do it. She's like, just write about everything that makes you mad. And I was like, I don't know.
I got material.
Pages. And a couple weeks later, I sat down at Joe's Cafe in the East Village and read her what I wrote, and she's like, that's a 10-minute comedy set.
Wow. But that was 2 years before you even did anything with it.
Yeah.
Wow. So what was the initial, hesitation, I guess, for you to even want to pursue something? Because, I mean, you're not afraid to be on stage. You're not afraid to be in front of people.
Yeah. I just think that I didn't understand the world of stand-up.
Okay.
Now, I grew up watching stand-up. Like, my parents were very inappropriate, and I watched, like, listen to Red Fox albums or like things that I should not have been watching all of the comedy specials on HBO, but I guess I just didn't see a path for that. Okay. Particularly as a gay black woman. Yes. And that was like, I was like, do they have those? Like, I don't even know.
Well, and probably back and I mean, not even within the last maybe 10 years have women comedians really been kind of coming to the forefront and being more recognizable in this, I mean, and just across the board. So for you, when you kind of put it on the back burner, where you're just like, I'm going to pursue my acting career, just go that ball.
What was actually just directing?
Just directing.
I was
okay.
directing theater and working with Lincoln Center's Directors Lab, and really enjoying that, but kind of miss the light on my face.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like that part of me that was an actor that liked, the light,
right.
kind of was missing that. And stand-up was a great combination of, I've always been a writer. Stand-up was a perfect combination of being able to direct myself.
Yes.
And being able to write, but still have the light on my face and say something.
Wow. And it really, was it just for you wanting to find your own inner voice and being able to put that on there, or were you still just trying to kind of just, like you said, just get back in the spotlight?
It was trying to find my voice in a funny way. And trying to talk about the stuff that was difficult in ways that were funny.
Okay.
I like the math of it. I like the challenge.
Oh, okay. And because when you first went, you lied to the guy for the Improv in New York, and we're basically like, I've been doing this for years. I've been all around the world.
You haven't heard of me? You don't have Google it. Yeah. So if
Google
you
it.
had,
Oh my God, I
you
love
wouldn't have found anything. So I lied to the booker at the Improv in New York, and then packed the audience with my friends.
Which is smart to do.
Me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll pay your way in, you buy your drinks, right?
Okay, smart.
10 people, because you're paying for stage time
right,
at that point. And then my friends laughed, but other people laughed too.
Wow.
And then a guy named Morty afterwards, because there's always a guy named Morty in a comedy club.
True.
Came up to me afterwards and was like, I think you have something, I want to help you.
Wow.
And he put me in a workshop that they were doing at the Improv, and just kind of helped me get more stage time there. Wow. And I finished my bringer shows pretty early, and he was like, I'm gonna start letting you MC, and then
And for you, what do you find was kind of what you enjoyed the most about comedy compared to being an actress, and what were the kind of the distinctions that really kind of set you into more of a path on this career?
Well, I think with acting, you have to enjoy auditioning.
Okay.
I didn't like that.
I don't want to do that.
I didn't like that. I didn't like it. I didn't like getting up and having to dress a certain way, and having to be a certain way, or that really
to fit someone else's character.
To fit someone else's character. And I really liked classical theater, but I didn't see there was going to be a big road for me with my dreadlocks and the whole thing. I was like, how's that going to work? So stand up was just kind of like a perfect, I don't know, it just felt like everything else was leading to me
to
being
that
able
point.
to do that.
Okay. And again, you are the quadruple threat. You're a comedian, you are a woman of color, you're a woman, and a lesbian. So how do you work, because that is a lot to put into a set with just, you have so many different avenues you can take. How do you kind of narrow down your focus to create a set for an audience and really kind of put, again, you as trying to tell all these different things that, does it make you mad or drive you crazy, or the things you want to talk about? How do you kind of hit all these different topics while still not losing someone on this rabbit trail of one thing or another?
When I first started, or before I first started, I'd been kind of thinking about it a lot.
Okay.
And I ran into this woman named Julie Goldman. She's a stand-up comic as well, and an actor, great improv person. And she was doing a show at the theater where I was working. And after the show, I was like, I've been thinking about doing stand-up, but I don't know. I'm black, I'm gay, oh my God, there's so many things. And she was like, that's why you have to do it. That whole thing is literally your point of view. Take that and run with it. And she was right. Okay. And so I decided not to shy away from any aspect of that and to just dive into all of those things, because there's humor and all of that, and there's material in every aspect of my identity. Oh,
and it's so true. And if you've seen any of your work, you pull in such a fun way. You touch on everything so brilliantly, and I think it's also coming with practice too, of doing it for as long as you have, that you've found a way to weave everything in, and such as just kind of, it all kind of sprinkles through. When you're coming up with new material and stuff that you're kind of working and workshopping for yourself, what's kind of your process to kind of get, how do your creative juices get flowing on a topic or something? Do you kind of just go based off what you've had happen to you that week, or do you kind of have an outline and then you kind of just sprinkle it with other stuff throughout the set?
So I'm pretty anecdotal with my stand-up, and so if something happens, I'll just make a note of it, or if something comes to me, it'll come to me in random things. A friend of mine said, I can't believe, this black woman, shot people, random people. And I was like, she's like, that's something that, black women don't do. And I was like, I'm surprised we haven't done it more. And then I was like, note to self, write that down. You're going to create a bit out of that.
Okay.
You know? So it's just kind of like whatever is happening in life.
Gotcha.
If I see a way to like spin something, then I can find humor.
I really love it. So, and I mean, so is it really just a day-to-day that inspires you? I mean, you really don't have like this kind of method. It just kind of just pops into your head. You're like, ooh, write that down. Ooh, write this down.
It's like for just living. That's the best way to find materials. Just like I couldn't come up with like the lady, you know, grabbing my hair at Whole Foods. Like I had to live that.
I remember. Yeah, I remember you doing that from that, which
you
is
know what I mean?
Crazy that someone actually did that.
But I was like,
first of all, you don't touch a woman's hair. Period.
Who does that? Yeah.
But like, first of all, you just don't touch anyone's. Not even a woman. You don't touch anyone's hair.
Like, yeah.
It's just kind of like. It's just so, again, it was just so bizarre to me, but I mean, it is.
I was like, after it happened, and after I was like, so you got out there, you didn't end up in jail.
What?
Write it in your joke book, because you're going to get, you know.
And for you, starting in this process a little bit later than a lot of people start of, and not it being your first kind of career path, who did you kind of look to as influences in order to kind of maybe model or come up with, different ideas to do stuff in your sets?
Well, there were other, as I got into stand-up comedy, I realized that there were other like Black women comedians like, you know, Karen Williams and people that I hadn't heard of. But when I found them, I was like, what?
Yeah.
You've been out here this whole time.
Right.
They've had whole careers and whole histories that, you know, I was new to. So knowing that there was at least somebody ahead of me that had done it, but besides Moms Mabley and all such as that.
Right.
So that was also like very helpful to me. And then I just like look at other careers that I really appreciate. I like really appreciate the like Wanda Sykes. Like she is somebody who I look at and I think like, if I have a career that's like a quarter of that, I feel real good.
One, I mean, you guys are, just relate so much again to each other. The fact that you're both lesbian women in the comedian field and women of color, and so you guys obviously have so much in common. And you've also done some stuff with Whoopi Goldberg as well, and doing stuff for HBO, and you've done some stuff on there. What for you is it like being on a show with again all these other different people and working, because you've done gay comedy skit shows before. We talk about the one that's coming up, which we'll get to in a minute. But for you, what's it like working with other comedians? Because a lot of times comedians, it's kind of sometimes hard for them all to kind of do one thing together, because again, you guys are all different in your own regard. Your material's different based on who you are. How do you find working with other comedians and again other LGBTQIA plus comedians in that? I think
that's the key, is that I know that we're all different, and I know that we all bring something very different to the table. And I've known that since Julie Goldman reminded me of that before I really started doing stand-up. And you know, with stand-up, you kind of like come in with like a class of people, like a kind of like a group of people start stand-up around the same time. So I have like this kind of class of comics that I started coming up with in New York, with like Jackie Monahan and like Leah, and these people, we just kind of are our own people, and our material is nothing alike. And so I never felt threatened. Like, I've never felt threatened by any other comic, because I feel like everybody's got their own.
Gotcha. So you guys were also individual in your own regards, and it really never clashed or anything like that.
Yeah.
Which is really fascinating, because I mean, with again, there's so much diversity out there, and there's so many different aspects of life, where you still try to go and like be out there in this kind of sea of individuals. How do you feel like you kind of help stand yourself out from the crowd? And from other people that may have similar stories to you or similar backgrounds, like how do you kind of set yourself up as a person, individual behind some of these other people?
I did a comedy show at a room on Pico that was called Let's Be Honest. It was Black women comedians. And it was the first time that this particular room had that kind of show. And most of the women that were on the show were more kind of like, you know, they had like sturdy gaits, you know what I mean? They were more like on the butch kind of side of things. And then here I come in like, you know what I mean? So I think in that aspect, I know on that particular show, I was like, finally, it's me and my male energy. You know what I mean? Like, which we all know it's not. So I think that is sometimes one of the things that, you know, here's this like, prissy.
The lipstick came out.
Who was just like prissy sorority girl who was like, I want to tell jokes, you know. So I think that has been something that kind of like makes me stand out, and I think also just kind of like my experience, like growing up, how I grew up, and the kind of sensibilities that I have about things.
And I mean, your energy too is different than a lot of other comics too. You have a very specific energy to you. I mean, you are very, like, you start off almost soft in a sense of, like, you lead them up, and then you just throw this right into their face, and everyone's like, wait, I wasn't expecting that. And you really catch them off guard, and I love that because you'll see people's faces in your sets on the like that, and they just go, where did that come? And they just look like, what? Like, what? Okay, and you're like a sneak attack, and I love that about your style. It's just like you're kind of going on like you're just telling a normal everyday story, and then you throw something in there, and everyone's just like, the fuck? Like that, again, with going to Whole Foods and having lady asked to touch your hair and then grabbing your hair, like, I mean, again, blew people's minds, but they're also they're like, holy crap! And it just you were like the comedy ninja of like getting them all drawn in and like this false sense of security, and they're like, boom, here comes it.
I was when I first started doing stand up in New York, Richard Klein, I did a show at the Improv, and then I used to come out and just be like, I'm a lesbian. There was like no punchline. I just like, I'm a lesbian, because I don't know, I just felt like I had to announce that. And then after my set, I was backstage, and he was like, you're very funny, and I was like, oh, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And he was like, can I make a recommendation? And I was like, yeah, do tell. He was like, you're so funny and so delightful. If I were you, I would consider saving the lesbian stuff until you have them in the palm of your hands and then smack them in the face.
Oh, I love it.
I was like, okay. I mean, you would know. So I tried it, and I was like, I like that note.
And you like the response from that.
And I like the response, because I like taking people on the journey. They're not quite sure. And then when I go that way, they're like, oh, we made a left. And I'm like, yeah.
We made a hard left. We also did a U-turn. You didn't know it, but we just did. We're coming all the way back.
Exactly.
And I really want to know, because I mean, it's always fascinating to me how people always take something and like, oh, this is gay or not gay, and it really doesn't matter. Everything can be gay as hell. But for a lesbian, but also, I mean, an LGBT comic, for you, when you go and like maybe do a place that's not necessarily known for an LGBT community, do you ever kind of go in there with a little bit of a hesitation, or do you ever kind of pull back material to make sure you're not as in their face about it, or how do you work that to make sure that you still feel secure leaving the stage and not feeling someone's gonna be waiting for you back in the parking lot?
I have, since I started doing stand-up, have always been super committed to being out and on stage.
Gotcha.
I've always been, I don't know if there's ever been a set that I've ever done in my life that at some point didn't mention me being gay. I don't know if that's ever happened. And so I may, depending on the audience, I may start somewhere, I may just start like really easy with like a couple little softball politics. But eventually, we're gonna come around to that. But hopefully, by that time, you're already listening. You've already
kind of been hooked into it. Okay.
You know, this is just another part of. This is just some more fill-in, something else in there.
Yeah, and it's really true, because, quite frankly, and a lot of people, I love saying this because it's so true. You are first a comedian, and you just happen to be a lesbian as well. It's really not your identity as an individual. You have so much more behind it besides just being a lesbian woman. So I do see that's so true. But it's like, again, you go to some probably going to some of these places that are very rural, or just, again, more straight white cisgender individuals, and you're kind of like. So you've never felt threatened before, or anything like that, going into stuff like that?
I was doing a show. Had the pleasure of opening for Wanda Sykes, and I believe we were in Orange County. Was that
her hysterical stuff?
No, this was just a show at the Improv.
Oh, okay.
And I was very nervous about it, because it was the first time where I was opening for one of my people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So and I looked at her audience, and I was like, how is this gonna go?
Because it's OC.
I was like, exactly, how is this gonna work?
Because it is vanilla bread and white butter.
And I was like, well, Gloria, you just gotta do your jokes.
Yeah.
You gotta do your jokes and just commit to them having a good time, and I wanted to have a good time. So of course it ended up being absolutely delightful and wonderful, but I did have that moment all right, we're gonna go in here and see how this goes. Yeah.
And it can, again, it's something you don't want to be afraid of, but again, you're always in the back of your head trying to just make sure you're checking, because you don't know how crazy people are, and you're just there to be yourself and be funny and try and entertain, but people take shit the wrong way. And I know I've heard horror stories of people having where, especially there was a guy I watched an documentary for, and it was it was a black man who was a gay comedian, and he was just saying, he was like, you had to be very careful sometimes going to some places like Tennessee, and just being like, I had to watch out and make sure I had security walk me to my car, and so it's sad that we still have to have those things, but it's good that you are not afraid.
Now.
Yeah,
I think for a while when I first started, I remember feeling like, God, any part of my identity is up for like attack.
True.
And then I think we had some years that felt a little sweeter, and then I feel like right now
it's kind of backtracked a little bit.
Like, you know, I feel like just more aware.
Yeah, which is, I can totally see that for there. And you have been, I mean, you worked on, lots of different stuff. You worked on Cherry Bomb, which was on LTV in Canada, and that was a really cute gig for you. And what did you like about doing some of these different things? Like, I mean, you did Wanda Sykes' Hysterical. You've done a bunch of different shows. What do you like more? Doing stuff on TV and like being on that aspect, or doing live performances? Which for you is more of your kind of what you go to? You know,
I like them both a lot.
Okay.
One of the things that I did love about Cherry Bomb is that I got to play with others.
Okay.
Because stand-up feels very insular, right? It's like you and the audience, and then you don't really have anybody to bounce anything off
it's very
of. It's
one-on-one.
just like it's one-on-one.
Right.
But with like Cherry Bomb and other things like that, I get to like play with others.
Okay.
And that's fun too.
So you guys like, do you like that energy of being able to bounce things between?
I like to be able to like, you know, just like to be able to listen and to be able to find ways to make jokes.
Okay.
You know.
And kind of like slip them in there, and like, oh, that's really interesting. Because again, like you hear it from either side of comedians that are like, no, it's just my time with my and that and my stuff, and then you have some that are like, oh no, it's fine. We like the whole like.
It feels like an exercise anytime.
Oh really?
Like oh, boop, I see it right there. Like, swat it, you know.
So it's almost like just kind of bat back and forth with each other. That's so much fun for you. With like, if you were ever not to do comedy, which never, I had heard you had mentioned you wanted to do politics.
I love politics.
And so, what really fascinates you about politics? Because it makes my brain hurt because it is just so complicated.
Before
sometimes.
I moved over to theater, I was a political science major.
Oh wow!
I always wanted to run for office, and I love policy.
Really?
I know that's like girl nerdy, but I really like policy, and I like to get. But that's kind of like an analytical personality.
Yeah,
so
that's very true.
Kind of personality that likes to like dig and take things apart. And so there's a part of me that like really could like get into like policy and doing things to like help improve people's lives.
That's fast. I mean, again, to me, that is so not necessarily rigid, but it's so like procedural. And then again, comedy is so not like that. Yeah. So I mean, and it was just the aspect of policy is really what draws you into
policy
it.
And like feeling like I'm not often satisfied with the things that are happening. But even when I was a little girl, I felt like I wanted to run for office.
That's so amazing.
Like, I've always had that in the back of my mind. Like, at some point you're going to run for office. Because I really love the idea of, like, making policies that, like, help people change their lives and make the world better. If you ever did, for, like, shits and giggles, and you ever, like, I'm going to go and do this for a little stint in my life, was there a specific type of political office you'd want to go for, or do you want to just go straight for the top? Well, I don't want to go to the top. But I think that, like, being a congresswoman, I could do that. I feel like I could enjoy doing that. Oh, that'd be really cool. Yeah. Oh, that's so exciting. I mean, it's always just, again, it's fascinating to me about what people's, like, inner desires can be sometimes, and how they're just so not what you expect always. And it's just, it was so interesting to see. And then I can totally see that, like you, though, would be wanting to help people, but also, like, finding interesting ways to make life better. Solve problems. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. So amazing. So we're going to get to the extra fun part that we're going to be talking about. You're doing an amazing project with Comedy Dynamics and Deco Presents called Out on Stage, which it's you in a bunch. I don't remember the full number. I think it's like, what, 12? I think it's 19. Oh, 19. It's a lot. Yes. A lot. And they're all LGBTQIA plus comedians. Yeah. And we have the amazing Zach Howers, who's going to be the MC host of it, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today, but he's busy apparently. He's got I think he had another shoot or an interview. He's running around like crazy. So we say hi, Zach. And you and Zach actually have a history together. How did you guys meet initially? First time I saw Zach was at the Improv. Okay. And, here, in New York? No, here. Oh, here in LA. Here. Okay. And Aaron Foley has a really good eye for stand-up. She's another comic, of course. And he went up there, and I was just like, who is this? I was like, oh my God, I want to hug him. I want to put him on my lap. And he is so funny. Like, he was just the cutest thing, but so funny.
He's her pocket gay.
Yeah, he could get away with saying things that are like,
does.
That's the thing about him.
He
like,
totally does.
I was like, oh my gosh, but
it's that little boy face. It's that beautiful little boy face that gets away with murder.
Eyes, you know, and with
murder.
him, I'm like, you said that, you did that, and so like that was the first time I saw him, and I was like, that's, he's got it, like that person has it. And then I saw him in a smaller venue at like Akbar, and he still had like the audience like going along with his like craziness.
I love that it's Akbar too. That's such a fun place to
it's
be
like
in.
a tiny, like a little small
it's
stage.
very small, yeah.
Exactly, but he had them eating out the palms of his hands, and I was like, yeah.
And out of other places too. Because we know what happens at Akbar after dark. But so then how did you guys actually like meet? Like, did Aaron kind of connect the two of you? Or?
Yeah, so just met that night and then just started seeing each other at other, like, you know, that's like the whole comedy scene. You start to see the same faces. Okay,
so is it a fairly tight community with all of that here in the Los Angeles area?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I mean, a lot of the work that I've gotten has been because of other comics. Where if they couldn't do something or if they thought that I might be good for something, they'd pass my name along.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So, yeah.
So it's kind of like a little, like, kind of network of sharing and everything with that. That's really amazing. So you guys got did Zach come up and approach you about this opportunity?
I had another friend that was actually supposed to do it.
Okay.
And she could not, and she recommended me.
Oh, fantastic.
And then they called and they were like, you were recommended, we love your stuff. Are you in town? Can you do this? And I was like, yeah, I'm here. Sure, why not? Let me stop eating now and get myself together. So, yeah.
And it's a really, I mean, it's, so I'm going to list some of the names they have here because it's impressive. Jonathan Rawell, Brennan Scannell, I always mess up, Casey Lee, Julian Michael, Irene Tu, Jared Goldstein. I mean, it's just, there's a litany of different people. And I've seen a lot of these names actually do stuff from around, like, different things. Some of them have done stuff for Comedy Central, Laugh Factory here for the Improv. I mean, they're all over there. What did you feel like when did you get to see anyone else perform or do anything before, or did they kind of have you guys all separated?
We were just kind of like separated and highlighted. It was like very quick, got makeup done, took some pictures backstage, and then just out to go. Yeah. Did you get a chance to meet up with anyone after or do any stuff like that in between? No, and I didn't even know. I didn't really pay attention to what I was doing. Like, I didn't know that it was like, be a movie or like in theater. Like, I just was like, in that time, I was like, I'm just going to start saying yes to whatever. Yeah. And so I was just like, I'm going to say yes to this. And I said yes. And then, of course, as it started going on, I was like, oh, you said yes to something very good. Very good. And then, and then when I realized it was going to be in theaters, I was like, oh my God. I mean, first of all, the fact that it's going to be in theaters is amazing for, again, an LGBT comedy special like this. And it's really great because it does provide, it's for new platform for queer voices to kind of go out and that are not really well known in a general audience, for them to kind of get their names out there and for you all to kind of like really shine and show people the fun things with again the LGBT community doing comedy. And I think also because of the way that things are right now. Yes. I feel like, and I'm one of those people who hates when people are like, now more than ever. But I literally feel like now more than ever, those voices, those queer voices are very subversive and they need to like come out and be heard. Well, and I feel like we really have our communities taken a step back because, well, first of all, literally today, we were floored by the results. So that was like, it took us a minute to kind of recollect ourselves. But I mean, it's just this whole gradual attack that's been kind of progressing to where it's just as the intensity of it all on our community. And it's scary to kind of feel like we've taken God knows how many years, 20 years back almost, and like being back almost like in the 70s and 80s when we were like basically closeted and like do not tell anyone your identity, your sexuality, anything to that effect. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I'm like super proud of this. This is amazing. I feel like this is it's important that we're doing this and saying jokes and still finding joy. Right. Because there are yams in the White House that want to squash the joy.
Oh, for sure.
And we can't let yams
No,
squash
for
it.
sure. And again, it's like especially to attack on the trans community here for our military forces and everything with that.
Yeah.
And it's so pointed, and I think the last thing really was, I mean, when, again, marriage equality and we're doing stuff with that, I feel like that was the last big battle we had, and we're just, again, back to that whole thing, and it is frightening to see, and I do appreciate that, I mean, we're poking fun at things here and there, but I mean, you are bringing up issues that everyone's talking about, and everyone has concerns about, and the fact that we're putting this kind of a big screen for everyone to see, it really does help. For you, when again, especially with the last 2 years as they have been, how much of that material is kind of permeated into your set now, and are things you really try to hit on, maybe specifically for the gay community or for the African American community? How do you kind of pull those in? Because you probably have new material every other day for that.
I mean,
you just read Twitter. That's all. I think it's your whole set. You just read this feed.
I think that I've definitely come up with some more jokes that have to do with, the things that are going on. But I think of it as a way of like to take people out of. I watch MSNBC almost chronically.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I watch it at 6 and I watch the same people at 9 o'clock.
Right.
You know, he's still yelling at me. At the 8 o'clock hour. You know what I mean? Like I'm still just. You know what I'm saying?
It's just a continuation.
He's just the way he was yelling at me. Chris Matthews is always yelling at me.
But funny because it's true.
I know. But I was like, when I think of stand-up, I was like, it's a way to take people out of that for just a second to like reset.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it as like an important thing to be doing right now.
I agree. And too many times, and it's a lot of the times I have to stop following this on social media because I'm sitting there depressing myself of all the crap that comes through it.
Yeah.
And you're right, this is such a nice reprieve of still hitting the issue.
Yeah.
But maybe making a little bit more fun of it, relaxing a little, taking a breath. Yeah. Which is really what we need to do. And it's so, oh my God, it's so true. When you kind of see all this coming together for Out on Stage, how long do you think you guys might have something like this progress through? Do you think it might just be the one kind of series you guys do, or do you think it's going to go longer? Like, what do you kind of see anticipation-wise?
Well, it's the first queer stand-up comedy special that's airing as a series on television.
Right.
So hopefully it opens some doors, and hopefully they'll do more.
Yeah, because that'd be great if there's a few seasons progressively of this. Because there's constantly new talent coming out there.
Absolutely.
And especially for queer art, it's becoming more and more prevalent, and you're starting to see more people come out and actually talk about stuff like this. So it's really exciting to see these outlets being available for voices that never had a platform before.
My therapist tells me all the time, it's a really good time.
So true. Oh my gosh. And for you, what do you feel has been, especially for queer artists here in the comedy scene, what kind of has been the biggest change you've seen over since like roughly 2006 when you started to today in 2019? Kind of have you seen a big progression in it?
Well, that was the thing. It's like I felt like for a while it got better.
Got it.
And now I feel like a little more nervous.
Okay.
So that's kind of unfortunate. But I do think there are more stand-up comics that are, people are really trying to use that platform as a way to kind of like dissect things in their lives. And I've also seen a move towards like almost more vulnerability.
Okay.
And so not so much that kind of like observational, like that's a black bag, let's find a way to make that funny. But people really like taking the things that have happened to them and their lives and figuring out ways to find humor in it.
Wow. And so they're really like, not just, like you said, not just being superficial about it, but really digging deep and pulling really good material from that. That's amazing. And it really does make you, again, really hone your art in once you start being more like that and not just being like, oh, joke. You're like, no, there's a message behind it all.
Absolutely.
And it's really
my
amazing.
therapist said, my therapist from grad school, I've gone through a few.
She's wrecked a few.
But she saw my stand-up, the first special I did, and she sent me a Facebook message, which is an odd thing for a therapist to do, but it doesn't matter. But what she said is, I noticed that a lot of the things you used to talk about in therapy, I'm seeing in your performance.
Wow.
And it's true.
Wow.
So I think that comedy literally can be like a vehicle for that.
Laughter is the best medicine. It really is. And it does kind of help, really, I think, for sure, of people just being able to not stress about the things that are so stressful on your day-to-day. But you gotta check this out for Out on Stage. You can go to Dekkoo, that's DEKKOO.com, and find all of this information out. And we'll be putting the link below where you can kind of check everything. But I am so excited for this. And again, the litany of artists they have. They're gonna be doing, I think, about, like, I think they said roughly 3 per kind of episode. And so you'll have a spattering of different people and all across the board. And you cannot wait to see Gloria on there because it is gonna be epic. I've seen some of your stuff online, but we had a chance to see her at the Dyke March last year, and she spoke absolutely hilarious and had everyone like side splitting that entire speech. So I'm so excited for this. Again, I'm excited for the platform and the fact that Dekkoo is really doing a lot more for queer media and putting more stuff like this out there. For you, what would be one piece of advice you could potentially give to someone that's looking to get into the comedy field as either just a regular, just a actor, comedian? What if them trying to get in there? What would be one piece of advice you give them that maybe you learned yourself, or something maybe you could tell yourself back in the day?
People ask me that a lot. I meet people whenever I'm all over the country or whatever, and I say to people, write it down, and then it should be fun. Yeah. Comedy should be fun.
Duh. It's like, that's just a no-brainer for sure. And I think it's so true when like people try too hard sometimes with something, they try to force the joke, and it's just like,
you should be having a good time. We should all be having a good time. Like sex. We should all be having a good time.
Always. Well, thank you, Gloria, so much for coming. I mean, I really appreciate you taking the time to come speak with us. Go again, Dekkoo, DEKKOO, and .com to go check out this amazing series. We'll have a link in there so you guys can check it out. But I'm super excited, and there's so much talent in there. It is jam-packed with some amazing different comedians that you'll love to see. Thank you again to Gay Life.